I'm hoping you can hear the Rocky music. Testing this out. I don't think you could. So I got to fix that and work on all the technical difficulties to get the Rocky music to work again. So I don't think you could. So I got to fix that. All right, turn me down so I can see the comments on other platforms and stuff. So hey everybody, it's Chat with Chad time. It's Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, and the show tonight is about the dreaded word no one wants to say, micromanagement. Well, let's explain micromanagement a little bit. There is a time for micromanagement, and then the time, it has a time limit. There is a time when decisions have to be made to stop the micromanagement, and then you're going to go on to something else to micromanage, because to micromanage something, really, when you look at it, is you're just trying to implement and create that system, and you're pounding in everybody to get that system to start being evolved from a micromanagement stage to a cultural stage of everybody's going to do it every week, right? So, I mean, that is exactly what our whole goal is here today. So, hi, Diane. Thanks for coming on tonight. I love all your comments and everything, and we'll move on. I'm sure with micromanagement, owning a business as long as you had, I'm sure you have a lot of experience with that. So, anyway, I think one of the biggest thing about micromanagement is this. First part of before you have to micromanage something is the system you've created. Is it really going to be successful? And is it something that everybody's buying into and getting into and going into the phase of it's good, it works for us at this stage that we're on, and now it's being implemented, and then this is where they all break down. And Mike will tell you too, where the breakdown in every system is, it didn't get micromanaged enough in the beginning to become culture and part of the system inevitably that's happening. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Chad?
I missed you last week.
Yeah, I caught parts of it. It's pretty good, man. You're helping a lot of people.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. No, I mean, it was Chat with Chad infomercial is what it was. So had a good time. Hey guys, anybody out there? I actually got 3 clients out of that, and I've done 2 of the initial onboardings with them for me coaching. I gotta tell you, I absolutely love working with everybody and doing that. And when you start over or start with a new client, it's so fun because they're getting relief that there's some help and there's this, and then it really makes a difference in their lives. It helps me. I love helping them. It's just that new fresh client is a joy to me, and not that I don't love everyone else, but the new one is there's something, there's a goal, there's a can't wait for some relief, there's some structure going to happen, and so yes, and so I don't know who I'm trying to get on here to see where some of these comments are coming from. Here we go. James Michael in the middle of implement says no thing on here, but I got it on my phone. I can see it in the middle of implementing this as we speak. And so, and then there's Chuck. Hey guys, Carol, who was one of my clients on last week. Hi. And then Katie that's Justin. I think that's Justin.
Justin.
Yep. Neary, who has a also has another inspection program out there right now as well. And so for everyone to kind of look at. So
I get a lot of posts.
Yeah. And so, I don't think, and I'm not going to speak for Mike, but I mean, competition is out there, man. It's good to have. It's going to push, I mean, Justin's a smart guy. He's going to be pushing stuff that you may not have. And you'll look at it, well, shoot, I need to step up our game and make Bare Hands Pro better. And, I love the idea of competition, especially in apps and all that. What's your take, Mike?
Yeah, well, In our service area, I wish we had, bigger companies, bigger competition, companies that are charging what we charge, that do comparable things to what we do. There's such a disparity, not in all of our service area, but in some parts. It's like, I mean, I guess I could just speak pretty bluntly, the scam companies out there, $99 that, come in and then say, oh, it's $1,000 for a power sweep of your system. And then, we're doing things obviously a totally different way. And I feel like if we had another company or two out there that was similar to us, like we'd be so much better off, and yeah, that goes with everything. So,
Well, I mean, and let's bring in a third coming. I mean, a gym with Inspect or ChimSpect. I mean, I was talking to a client of mine today who uses ChimSpect, and they just rolled out an update on theirs, and the client that I'm talking about loves it. Said the new update is awesome, and so I mean, so I've never had Jim on here, but I mean, if he ever wanted to come on, I'd absolutely let him, and so yeah, I mean, innovation, man. I mean, anyone that wants to get on the show, and I don't care who you are, the link I just put in there, you just got to click that link. It'll bring you into the show, and I'll put you on screen with us. You can talk live with us, and so anyway.
It's cool. It's cool to see that, to see all these companies come out and the evolution of other companies. I mean, it just shows that it's like an obvious thing that you should have, if you're in the industry. And, I think a lot of people are building forms out there. And I saw a post from Justin the other day that, hey, this isn't his software. Like, this isn't just a form that people are filling out. It's way more than that. And the same thing with ours. We're rebuilding ours to have a whole lot of more functionality and a lot more logic to it. You've seen some of that stuff. It just saves time, makes the proposal way better for the customer. And yeah, it's a no-brainer. So it's not surprising to me that there's more companies out there doing it.
Well, and you have it to where it integrates with ServiceTitan, right?
We do, yeah, and handful of other CRMs,
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know a lot of people know that. So I mean, they have it, and the part of where like we have a breakdown with this Kickserve that we use is that it does not connect to our fast field forms, and so I mean, I always wanted to get on Bare Hands Pro, but back when Bare Hands Pro was in the initial thing, what I've built out on fast field forms is what were adequate for us to do it. And so we're going to be looking into, I mean, we're still in the middle of stages of building out our CRM. We took a hiatus, obvious reasons, this summer. I needed to save some cash. So we're jumping back on board to start developing again and go from there. So here we go. There's Justin. That's Justin, because I can see it on the phone right there. I love inspections. I love all the options of the software. Yeah. And so, but anyway, going back to, I mean, it's kind of funny to tell a story about software, kind of bring it back to micromanaging. I'm friends with the CRM guy, Chuck. The link is in the comments. You should see it on Facebook. I put the link in there. So if anybody wants to come on, the link should be in the comments. I think if it's not, let me know. So
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What have you learned? What do you know now that you didn't when you started building the CRM?
Well, I mean, the process was definitely a lot more and tedious and more in depth than I ever thought it would be. My brother is the one that's actually doing the scope of work to the software engineers, and talking to him. So I have the vision. Mark and I have the vision. More me, and then Mark wants some things done, so we're doing that. And then we have to relay that to my brother, who's not in the home services industry. who's in the world of coding and digital stuff to this is what we want, and he has to then bring it to them to visualize and work on there. And so, and we haven't dove into it yet, is the AI. We're really looking at AI, and I wasn't gonna say anything, but more I've been working on it, the more I'm going to. I am coming out with a sales software. I think AI. So I've showed it to you, Michael, a little bit. It's so far more done. I'm working on it for 2 months. It is the right now. It'll be the process of what you say. You'll role play the perfect scenario of a chimney sweep, of a chimney thing that is with the verbiage that I've already made up. When I onboard the company that wants it, we'll change the verbiage to theirs, and then the guys get to practice it to pass the memorization. In my program, what it does is you get to read it. It talks to you while you're doing it, and then when you pass that, when you're reading it, you do it again, and it takes away some of the script, so you're forced to memorize it until there's no script, and you got to pass to go to the next module, and you get little rewards. Well, once you've gone through, you've got all the verbiage done, you've done what we call the educational portion of the app. We then have an AI thing that we've programmed to talk about the right now we're only doing it to where it's at the end of the sale, not the beginning. We're doing it, to talk to you, being a full client. I'll do a demo on it probably the first week of the year when I have it a little bit more going, but it's nothing like that's out there right now like this. This is the beginning stages of a program that will help you, with the process, what to say when you show up. It actually starts with a phone call. We start with the phone call, and there's Chuck. He figured it out.
It's AI role playing.
It is AI role playing.
Figured it out.
Hey, Chuck. But anyway, so I'll talk more about that after the first of the year. But your question was, what did I learn? And it was just more of the process. It takes a lot longer to build a program. I remember when we were, I was watching you go through it with Bare Hands Pro, and we've gone through all of it just like you. That Bare Hands Pro. I mean, I get it. I mean, we haven't even launched yet. We're 2 years into development.
Yeah.
And so we thought a year, maybe 14 months. Yeah, no. And so
you took a route that I was like, I don't know that I would take that route. Remember, I was like, here's another path, maybe bite off a little more or a little less. And but yeah, Chuck, did you ever think you'd be on a Facebook Live talking about AI role playing for the chimney industry?
No, it's a strange world, and my son is a computer engineer, so some of this stuff shouldn't be too terribly foreign, but it is moving so fast. I can remember as a kid, my father, in I guess probably the mid 60s when Star Trek came out, he used to say, "This is the future. This is what it's going to be," and he's right. I mean, we have tricorders, we have, flip cell phones, and the only thing we haven't done has been beamed up yet.
Yeah, I think something that our industry hasn't necessarily focused on as much as others is onboarding. It's I know Tommy Mello was talking about how his valuation of his company before he sold, one of the biggest things that gave him a boost, extra multiple percentages or whatever, is his onboarding process. He's like, you can press a button and duplicate your A players. And his training facility is unmatched. I've never seen anything like that before. He has basically a whole house kind of built out in a line. It's like a shotgun style house. And there's like a living room, a kitchen, a garage, like all completely built out like a nice house, and a bunch of garages. And, it's just role playing for weeks. He has these classes, and, we tried to emulate that, do something a little bit similar. We built 3 little rooms that were, our role play rooms. They're little tiny living rooms, the size of a small bedroom. And, he has it really thought out. For instance, in ours, each room has some stuff on the walls to build rapport. Has a poster of a motorcycle and a guitar and whatever. And then the next room has a little bit less stuff on the wall to make it a little bit harder. And then the last room has nothing. I think it has a wheelchair inside there or something. It's like, hey, build rapport with nothing to go off of and see how well you do.
If you want to get on, let me interrupt real quick. Steve, Chuck, was the link, could you see the link in the comments?
Yeah, not on my iPad, but in the comments, if you go back to Facebook, get out of the live show, you can see it in those comments.
Steve, you should be able to scroll up and see the link on there to come on the show. And anybody who wants to come on the show, have at it. This is going to be a great conversation. We've taken this into AI. This is, and so I'm going to wrap that together. So I'll kind of talk about the app that I'm building that'll be out in a couple months. It's about, so there's a couple different issues that happen when you're training somebody. Do they know the verbiage? Do they know how to answer, and are they fluent? So that's the part that I feel is lacking with new employees for the smaller company. All the bigger companies can hire me, can hire Alan, can do all that, but they're really lacking the full process of how to get through it. What's that deliverable that's affordable, that you can keep training someone, sit them at a desk and say, do this for a couple hours. Well, they'll teach you out and go out there, come back here, do this more, and then it'll teach them what to say, and you don't have to sit there and do it. It is at their will, beck and call, 24/7. Go home tonight and practice this 3 times, and they can keep practicing through the script of how I've done it all the way through. And so once they've passed the educational portion, I then have scenarios built out through the AI, and I will build out a scenario that says, all right, you've just done the inspection, you've done all the stuff, the pricing, you've just sold a relining, a back wall rebuild, couple rows of brick rebuild at the top, a full mount cap. The cost is $14,000. I want the AI to rebut you with, it's too much money, I need to talk to my wife, and will never, ever buy from you, or will not buy from you in person today whatsoever. Or I can play it where they will buy from you, and all that. And so I program all that in. I hit go. I send that scenario out to everybody, and they can role play with that all they want and get scores on it. And the manager, the owner of the business, can see their score and see how well they did. So if they didn't do well, then I can keep doing the same scenario, or they can call me up and say, can you do another scenario like this? And I'll keep playing with them, or I'll build out an educational thing for them to relearn it a little different and stuff like that. So it's super, super different than I've seen anywhere else. And it's going to be very nice. So that's the AI. So how are you going to make them accountable? Well, they have to pass. You can't pass it unless you've gone through the training and gotten the trophies. So you're going to know when you're training someone new or retraining someone who's been with you for the years who needs help, if they're doing it. They're either on the app or they're not. They're either doing it or they're not. And so kind of help out with the the accountability thing. So that's what I'm doing and bringing out here in a couple weeks from now. Hopefully the first, I'm almost got it done to where it's going to be able to come out. And so okay. So micromanaging is the name of the game tonight. Chuck, how much micromanaging did you do when you were training people?
In the very beginning, that was probably one of my weak spots. Is by nature, I'm a control freak. And it took a lot to get me to realize kind of what Mark was talking about last night. Anything that you're going to start new, it's okay to micromanage it to, get the boat going in the right direction. But once it goes in that direction, if you've developed your processes, your job descriptions, or whatever it is you're talking about, then you should have been able to train and be able to hand it off. But I think the piece that most people miss is the same thing kind of tying into your AI or any other software. Whether it's our industry or whether it's just us with human nature, we are a little bit, I don't know if it's lazy or we don't think everything through. So my biggest thing that I see with the people that I've dealt with from any venue is the accountability part where, okay, you're no longer micromanaging. You've named a champion, a captain, a manager, whatever you call that person, but that doesn't mean you walk away. And it's just like sometimes the criticism you hear about Service Titan. I've been through a fair amount of the Service Titan, introduction stuff, and I think it's probably the greatest thing out there in the world. The problem is you need a full-time person to handle that knows how to do it and has been certified on it, or you're wasting your money, in my opinion. And I think that's what you need to understand. There's a time to micromanage to get things moving. Once you hand it off, then you have to inspect for what you expect. You can never just walk away and assume anything. And that's why you have a hierarchy of command, a chain of command. And people need to be accountable all the way to the top, but it doesn't mean the top guy is on the golf course all the time. He's got to check in with his deputies.
I've also noticed, I have a poster in our management room where we have our conferences and stuff. And I have a 7 steps for hands-on training poster. And I realized 7 is kind of too many steps. So I pared it down to 3 steps. And one is show them, which pretty much that's a given. Everyone does that. Number 2 is watch them do it. And number 3 is the accountability, follow up. So I totally agree with you. Like that follow-up part, man, that gets skipped so many times. Just assuming, hey, I showed you once, you're going to do it forever. But that second step also gets skipped. It's just like intuitive to people, like, hey, you're doing that wrong. Let me, watch me, and then they walk away. Mm-hmm. And if the person doesn't do it, like, who knows, that you need. I've pared it down to those 3. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on that. If I'm missing something, or
I'm trying to get Steve on the show, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I missed the last 30 seconds you said.
Yeah, I'll jump in there real quick. So what I learned in the Boy Scouts is we had a thing called show, tell, and evaluate. So sort of what you're talking about, Mike, is that you would show them, how to do it physically. If whatever that activity, it could be putting in a liner or actually working a program, whatever it is, it's the same show. And then you have them show you back and tell you as they're doing it.
Yep.
But then the last step is the accountability. So now let's just say we're talking about a CSR. They've learned your system. They're booking calls. That doesn't mean you can go to lunch. That means you can step out of the room and, do something else and then come back. And then you want to stand behind them and listen for a while, or make sure that they've got somebody next to them that is a seasoned person, that if they get tripped up, it doesn't appear to be that way. Just like if you send somebody in the field to do a repair, even if you had a system of checkoff lists that they've gone through their ride-alongs and they're been qualified to work that way, you're still going to want to have somebody kind of hovering around for a little while until they really get seasoned. I did that in the fire department. It's been done with people that, I worked with in the family with military. It's just a very common thing to do. And I think that's where we miss the boat, is we think because owners are typically overachievers, we can tell it, we can show it to you, and then we can walk away. And just what you said, why aren't you doing it the same way? I've already showed you this.
Yeah, that's the thing that us as owners really need to come to grips with. And I'm not saying who we hire are not us. They're not us. We pioneered the path to get where you are, right? So we did everything we did as perfect as we could do it, taught it to everybody else. And then here's where we go awry. We expect you to do it because I showed you. And then we stop. And then we go, why aren't you doing it? How many times have you said that, even before we all really start working on our business? Well, why aren't you doing that? I've showed you that 100 times. Well, honestly, it's always almost in the beginning when that's happening, it's typically your fault until it becomes really is theirs. But I'm saying you literally did not manage it to fruition of it's part of your culture. So hi, Steve. Everybody say hi, Steve, first.
What's up, Steve?
Steve.
Dude. So I wanted to tell a story a little bit ago how I got into so my CRM guy that owns mine, Kickserve, I'm friends with him. Now I became friends with him after I was a user with Master Services, so we became friends. And we were out to dinner 2 years ago. He was visiting Texas, and we were out to dinner. And he goes, I don't make any money off of you and Kickserve. I go, what do you mean? He goes, your data usage from your images you guys do, I pay more for your data than I charge you. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's awesome. My mind was, that is awesome. I said, I don't care if you upcharge me a little bit, and whatever. He goes, no, we're good. You brought a lot of customers over. You're good. Well, I'll tell you, when I first got with Kickserve, I couldn't get my guys to take a picture no matter how much I beat them into them. I would fire people back in 2008 because they wouldn't take pictures. Well, then I was starting getting a lot of before pictures. So then I started to progress where I'm getting the befores. Now, when you're done, I need you to take the afters. So it took me about a year and probably fired 2 or 3 people just because of images back then to get the images. And now there is so ingrained into the company. We have so many images on every job. I can show you every part of every chimney that we touch. Essentially, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's awesome. And the new guys we have now, they just were taught that way. And I was in the jobs last week, and I'm like, wow, I could literally estimate this entire job from these pictures without even looking at anything. There's so much I have to see here. So it took me that 1 year of micromanaging, and that through that year, the micromanaging diminished, but then now it's like culture. And that's the full circle of what it gets to stick. And then like Chuck said, and I'll bring back to Mark's show last night, something else is then going to happen, right? You're going to have to go micromanage another system because that's our job. That's what we do. It's always going to be a full circle. No one's ever going to run perfect because there's one thing that we're always going to be dealing with, the human element. We're not perfect. The guys, no matter how much they do it, they're just not going to be that way. Tell me about it, Steve. What are you thinking?
I agree completely. I think that I micromanage our culture now. I stepped out of a lot of the other areas where I used to micromanage, and now I'm just kind of like the culture king. My job when I walk in the door is basically just to, high five and slap asses and, rah rah, kind of, how you doing? How you doing? As I walk through the building, it's, fist bumps and how was your weekend? How was yesterday? How'd your job go? That kind of thing. And that's basically my main position now, is just making sure everybody's doing good. But it used to be, looking over their shoulder as they're doing all of the different procedures that I tried to teach them to do. And but yeah.
So who does it now, though?
Tom, my GM.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Manage. I mean, he's doing his best every day to delegate, and it's hard for all of us. I mean, delegation is difficult but extremely rewarding at the same time.
Right.
There's a tool that, and I've seen it on the forums a couple of times, and it got so much hate. It's kind of funny to me, but it's the call-by-call coaching that, I'm sure Steve, because of HVAC, it's like huge. These monster companies, probably 50% chance that they're doing call-by-call coaching, like right. Literally everybody all the time, right? And for some reason on the forums for chimney companies, everyone like absolutely hates it. But we use it. Actually, I learned it from you, Chad. You didn't call it that, but when you have a new guy in the field, every job he's going to the truck, we're looking over his inspection report, making sure he didn't miss anything. All the measurements, pictures are there. He's role playing with one of our managers in the truck before he ever goes to talk to the customer. now we're doing recordings, in-home recordings, so we could hear them and post evaluations. And now with, CRMs, you could turn it on. So you could say, hey, and it did not necessarily for new guys. It could be for, hey, this one technician's missing this one part of the process. So we'll call them in. We'll coach them up in the office. And then the accountability part is, hey, we're going to turn on call by call for the next week or so and see how it goes. And that way, the very next job, he's doing it, or there is no next job, and that really helps with, just building that system back, making it a habit again.
Mike, are you or Chad doing RealAvoice yet?
We onboarded today.
Oh, yeah, we started on Monday.
Yeah, you went live.
We went live on Monday.
How has it been?
It's cool, man.
Yeah,
cool. It's a trip to be able to. I mean, we don't have a ton of data yet, but just to be able to see the conversations in text and listen to them if you want to. But it's been, it's almost immediately eye-opening. But I mean, we do the same thing as you're saying, Mike, that, when a new guy goes out in the field, we're every step of the way. Like, go do your discovery, go figure out what's going on, then call me. All right, now go do the inspection with them, figure out what's going on with that, and then call me, and through the whole process, and then have them propose it to you. And I think it's brilliant. And it's a way to get a guy out in the truck maybe a little bit earlier than he would have been or should have been in a truck, because you're just kind of holding his hand through it. But it's worth every penny, I think.
Yeah, or for anything. I mean, even if there's a guy, he could be the best worker ever. We have some like craftsman guys, and they're like, some of them are kind of older, and they're not the kind of guy that would typically ask for a review. It's just kind of against their nature. They think they're asking for something that the customer doesn't want to give or whatever, right? And so, we use call by call coaching for even that kind of stuff.
All right.
Like, hey, we're going to try this at your first job. You're going to call me after their first job, and we'll see how it went. Did you get it? Like, what happened? And, we could turn it on and off for anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, RealAvoice, for people who don't know, is basically in-home recording for sales techs or for CSRs. And it basically learns with your best people what kind of script or any scripts that you feed it, keywords, etc. And then it grades everyone against that. And by a lot more metrics than I would have thought in the beginning. There's patience metric. How soon after the customer talks do you begin talking? Like, are you cutting them off all the time, or you letting them get their whole thought out? Yeah. Generally, a higher patience metric will result in higher sales. What are some of the other ones, Steve?
Well, there's trackers too that you can put in there that are just like, we have a cuss word tracker, so we'll know anytime.
How's that working out in Minneapolis, Minnesota?
Well, we got it day one, dude. Day one, somebody swore, and we were talking about it earlier in the sales meeting that we, rolled it out with, and I was just kind of joking, not real. That, that's been like company culture since day one. But the customer swears, you don't swear. You don't mirror the customer in that. Right. You all hold that level of professionalism. And sure enough, like first or second appointment, I don't know, can't remember. I think he dropped the F-bomb. He's like, I almost got hit by a plow on the way here. So, obviously we had to talk with him about it, but it's hilarious. So there's all sorts of trackers, anything you want. So basically you upload your sales process and all the different components of it. And, so if you want them to talk about the company, you want to talk, all the value props, all the different parts of discovery, if you put it in there, then it'll track it. And then AI goes through and basically monitors all of it. And it can tell you words per minute. It can tell you how much, like Mike was saying, how much you talk versus how much they talk. And it's incredible. It's a virtual sales ride along.
Well, it's fair to mention you guys are both doing this through Alan, right?
No.
Oh, you're
We
not?
are. So Alan is kind of partnering with
Yeah.
Rilla Voice, at least, seeing what it's about. I think he's really wants to see it before he attaches his name to it. But he's basically developing the scripts, and also he hired a guy, and he's because so we've been doing in-home recordings for a long time, and our general manager is also our sales manager, so he listens to them. But I mean, how many can you listen to?
Right.
We have 12 sales guys. How many can he actually listen to, even sped up on recordings or something, or transcribed? It's only.
I want to be transparent here. I mean, I didn't bring this up. You guys did. So I want to make sure. Do we have Alan's permission to talk about this? I don't know.
We don't need Alan's permission.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get anything. I just want to make sure we're all good, and everything with Alan on this.
I'm not saying I'm not working with Alan. When he rolls it out, I think he's flying out somewhere to go visit with Rilla, or they're flying him out there to partner with him. But when he found out about it, I mean, it's brilliant. It's a way to, if we can take Rilla as a whole and input all of our industry people, so imagine all the people that Alan worked with. If we can input all of their sales data into it, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with. It is going to be unbelievable, because you can take, the $3 million, $4 million a year sales guys, and that's, the AI is going to incorporate everything. So we're going to be able to learn from all of the salespeople at one time using a computer system that can do it a hell of a lot faster and more efficiently than Alan ever could.
Yeah.
So James Michael asked that, is there, I'm sure with all apps and stuff, I'm sure you're signing your life away with something like that. And I'm sure the customer knows, don't they?
Yeah, the two-party consent states, and we're in two of them, California and Washington. You do need to make them aware that, just like with a phone, like if you call our company, our CSR is saying, this phone call is being recorded for quality and training. So they're going to start saying this phone call and any appointments, may be recorded for quality and training.
There were
single party.
So I literally started looking into my app, and then all of a sudden I found out about, literally a week later, Alan was doing that. But I think my app that's coming out is the beginning of how you start. How do you memorize everything? How you get to that point? And from what I can gather, Rilla is just far superior to, once you got everything down, to get it recorded, get it, as a company training thing. It sounds phenomenal.
Yeah. So it's after they already know the job and they're performing the job. And then there's kind of two ways that it works. It's basically a huge time savings in that the AI can do a lot of the grading and evaluation. And so the technicians can kind of see their scores. It's a little bit gamified, so they can, see what they need to improve on. And then it's much faster for, if there's a sales manager or someone, they can pick through that stuff way faster and find out the low hanging fruit and where somebody really needs coaching, kind of guide them.
Yeah. And my pre-app does all that as the rudimentary initial training, or getting someone there. And then Steve, you don't have anyone new on it, right? This is the Rilla. They're all already trained guys. So cool. So if you want Rilla, I would suggest the best guy to go through is to call Alan Rush and talk to him to get it. And so, just to give Alan a little heads up, I know he's putting some stuff into this. So if you, I'm just throwing it out there. I would call Alan on this one. And so I'm just trying to be PC with this. Because you brought it up, I had nothing to do with it. So I love Alan, and I never want to be crossing with Alan. And so, because he works with us too. And so, anyway, well, back to the micromanaging thing. The Rilla is interesting because it takes the accountability and the micromanaging to it to a level of actually a useful training tool, right?
Yeah. How do your techs like it so far, Steve?
It hasn't been long enough.
Oh, okay.
We're on day 3, so
The guy that said the F word doesn't like it right now.
they haven't had a ton of exposure to the results yet. Tom and I have just been kind of monitoring it and playing with it, but they're just working. Life is no different than it was on Friday of last week as far as they're concerned. So come the first sales meeting, there's going to be a lot of conversation about it. I mean, I'm so excited. It was like light bulb going off when I heard about it. Tom and I just looked at each other like, oh my God, this is absolutely brilliant.
What'd it cost you?
I think you had to pay for 5 guys minimum. So I think it was like 12 to 15,000.
Say that again.
12 to 15 a year.
12 to 15,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if it's under 10 licenses it's $2,400 a license, and then over 10, it's like $1,800 a license.
Right.
I had one of your coaching clients, Chad, Carol.
Yeah.
She sent me a message about the call-by-call coaching. It's just to kind of clarify it a little bit. Call-by-call coaching isn't like a coach, or it's just a system that you can use with or without a CRM. So our CRM, it basically is a checklist, so to speak, after each job before the techs move on to the next job. So they really only get one job at a time. And then they call in to a dispatcher or manager or somebody, and they're basically like having a checklist or making sure that the tech's doing whatever, they needed a little bit of coaching on before moving on. So it's just a way it's a way to have that accountability and just built into every job like clockwork. And obviously it takes a little bit of management. You don't need a CRM to use it. You just tell the technician to call in after every job and run down that checklist. Hey, did you greet the customer this way? Did you upload all your pictures? Blah, blah, blah. And you can, if you can go back in time to when you were telling everybody to do all the pictures, and if you implemented call by call, it's like, well, where's my second job? Like,
yeah.
Unless you have your pictures, there is no second job,
Well, the thing that I like about it is everything that we do as a human is about making a habit. And this is a way to have automatic poor habit correction. So if a guy went out and he inadvertently made a mistake or just ignored something or whatever, you're catching it pretty much in real time before he goes to the next job. And then hopefully after one day, a day and a half, if he's not listening, you jettison him. Because you're telling him literally, it's almost like having a guy in a truck without having a guy in a truck.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll kind of give you, Carol, I can help you with this. Obviously, we got to, she's going to be one of the first, her company's going to be one of the first on the beta testing of my new app. But, so I'll kind of go run down. If anyone really wants to know how to implement this, how we did it, how I showed Mike how to do it. I mean, this is how we get guys out in the field really fast to inspect chimneys in the Texas scenario. I don't know if you're doing boilers and all that stuff, if you could do it exactly like this, but in our area, it works for us. And so they've been in with us training for at least 6 to 8 weeks now, and then we put them off in a truck on their own. So they've got the verbiage, they got the identification, so they have to do all the pictures, write up the inspection, and write up the estimate. Then they call up, and the managers that are all certified and all they've been in the business for 10 plus years look at that job. They look at they look at everything. And then what they do is, this is their first week out. They literally sell the job to them while they're listening on the phone in the truck before they walk in. They literally go through and sell it to them. And then the guy goes in there and does it. By the end of the first week, if they're good, which most of them are, they transition to they're selling us the job. So they call up, we have all the pictures there. They sell us the job. We say, that sounds good. But we're also, and then we send them in. But we're also doing the checks and balances of where's this and this if they missed it. So we're hitting all the bases. And by the way, we did start doing that with everybody, even after training right now. We're full intimate. We're doing that now across the board. Every job is being looked at before it goes to the client right now. And so, and it is because we have a lot of new guys, but they're way beyond where I would have stopped doing that. We're still doing it. So Terry, John, and Brian one of them look at every single job before it goes in to the presentation. And so now we don't maybe sell it all the time, every time, but they are looking at everything now.
I think from an outside perspective, this can seem like demeaning or like super micromanaging in a bad way or something, but it's not. Like,
No.
you know, there's a million sports metaphors you can make. Like, would you have a football game without doing any huddles?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So call it play-by-play if you want. And we set the expectations in the beginning of what it is and what it sounds like, and it's honestly kind of funny. It's like, yeah, if you don't collect, if you don't collect payment at the job and you call in, we do run down your checklist. Your second job's real easy. It's a U-turn. And just set those expectations right in the beginning, and then when it happens, like, oh yeah, I knew this was going to happen.
That's such a good point, because one thing that I think a lot of business owners don't do is they don't set the expectations. They'll set the expectations for the good stuff, but they tend to skirt over the bad stuff for the expectations. I mean, I've always been good at that because I have no problem telling people, my don'ts. We have a whole video of it. I mean, we probably need to make a new one. We have some new don'ts, but we have a whole video when they first started about the don'ts. Don't do this at our company. And if you do these things, this is your really quick path to not working for us. And so,
Yep.
I like that.
Expectations.
We finally wrote one up. I love that. I remember you telling me you did that a long time ago. We finally wrote up. It's actually about 2 pages now. We're constantly tweaking it. And I mean, people onboarding with my company, I give them a tour and it's all like sunshine and rainbows and stuff. And then they sit down with our general manager and he puts on his military face and he's like, here's the bar. Here's what we're going to do and not do. And, he has them initial every line of that. We go over it, but it's their first day. So they're also like completely overwhelmed and, drinking from a fire hose. So we also recap it at the end of the first week or the beginning of the second week and go over it again. And that's been incredibly helpful because you can't expect someone to retain, all that information on their first day.
Right.
So, and they get we get a copy, they get a copy, they have it in their handbook. And
I got an idea. What is a system or something that you guys in the last year had to micromanage?
Sorry, my screen froze.
No, we see you.
what's something you had to micromanage in the last year, Steve?
Well, I feel like that is micromanaging. just following guys, job to job conversation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, other than that, when we launched the new HVAC business, I did a lot of, office micromanaging. This is exactly, listen to conversations. This is exactly how you have to talk. This is exactly what you have to say. This is how you respond. This is how quickly you got to respond, that kind of stuff. It was very new to us, but.
Well,
did you listen to recordings?
Oh yeah. I hate it. It's like just jam a knife in my eye, but I do it. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do as a business owner is listen to other people talk, vouching for my business, like, God, it is brutal.
Even if it goes well, it's brutal. Just
Yeah.
because I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I'll tell you where I've failed this last year. In my mind, and I think you've seen this, Steve, with our business. Anyone kind of managing stuff, they have a job description.
Yeah.
And their job descriptions is basically any task that they do that's repeating. And it's broken out in a spreadsheet. There's daily, weekly, bi-monthly, monthly, yearly, stuff like that. And everything has a date on it. So it's all their tests they should be doing. They update the date. I mean, I'm sure Monday or Trello or other, there's better softwares. We just use a Google Drive sheet. They update the date. It changes from red to green. Hey, it's done. And at a glance, you could look at someone's sheet and, are they basically doing their job? And then next to that sheet, there's a to-do list of all the one-off tasks. And so I'm really good at going over people's to-do lists, sitting down with them. It's 5 minutes once a week, or once you get in the groove, I can do it in the evening. They mark things as complete. Once I get to know them and confidence goes up, hey, this is actually 100% complete. I've noticed the tendency with almost everybody is, say there's a task like, get this wall painted. And then they'll put on there, I called a painter. The painter maybe never called them back. And ultimately the wall maybe never got painted. And they'll mark it complete. Like, hey, I called the painter and I'm just waiting for a call back. And it's like, no, that's not, not 100% complete until the intention of the task is 100% complete. And so I'm really good at cleaning up those to-do lists, but I'm horrible at looking at the job descriptions. And I've had, some managers just kind of fall off. They get caught up in the day-to-day and they forget to do that. And there's important things that are part of their job and I really don't understand how other companies operate. Is it all just in their head, or I haven't seen, I don't know. Like, Steve, you've seen my business.
Yeah.
And you've seen us use that system, right?
Yes. I mean, it's extraordinary. I mean, I think you're, of all the operators I've ever seen, you're definitely, your job descriptions and that to-do list is nuts. That's always been one of my faults is I'll bring somebody on and I just want them to know how to do it. I want you to just come in and just do it. I've always been terrible at having very exact and descriptive job descriptions. It's still one of the things I struggle with the most. People in my company come to me and they're like, I'd really like a little bit more clarity about what I'm supposed to be doing. And my brain is like, I don't want to have to think about what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to figure out what you're supposed to be doing. If I hire a freaking marketing company, they're supposed to know how to market. Don't ask me to give you an order to fulfill, that's why I hired you. That's why I'm paying you. Figure it out. But obviously it's not the right way to do it. And when you showed me yours, Mike actually shared with me his Google Drive sheets, and it was just like.
So let me put perspective on that for the public here.
Super legit.
When I first started working with Mike 4 years ago, that list that we're talking about, people, is 5 sheets long, this big of a letter, and is probably, I'll bet you at any given time, Mike has 500 things he wants to do, checklisting off.
That's a to-do list. Yeah.
His to-do list. It is. And then when we talk about reporting and stuff, when I saw, when he wanted me to help him with reporting, I looked at him like, well, we hired the wrong guy for that. Holy shit. Look at that. What he wanted to get better was 10 times better than what I have.
Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, what you're talking about is the to-do list part of it, which for some people, it is very like hundreds of, some are like 600 items long, but that's just because, I'm going around, I'm like, oh, here's a good idea, there's a good idea, and I'll add it to their list. It's really just job security for people. Like there's no way you ever get to the bottom of that. The trick is really prioritizing it. And in the beginning, it's overwhelming to a lot of people. Because they're like, I'm not going to get to the bottom of my list. And it's like, yeah, you're never going to get to the bottom of your list. You just prioritize once a week and go. But I mean, that's once they understand that the goal, that they're never going to get to the end of their list, it just exists like that, then I don't know, just it works. And
Do you
really,
micromanage that list?
No, because once I get into a groove with people, in the beginning, yeah, they'll mark something complete and I'll sit down with them and we'll go through each line item like, hey, is the wall actually painted? And they're like, no, but the guy's coming Tuesday. I'm like, all right, well, uncheck it till the wall's actually painted. But once we get in that groove, like I really don't even need to talk to them. It takes 2 minutes. I'm like, this chunk of things that are complete, I know them, I trust them, it's 100% complete. I'll move it over. And it takes very, very little time, and I can kind of manage a lot of people that way because I'm like, oh, here's a new priority they have. I don't, it doesn't even have to be during the workday. At night, I could just, let me drag this to the top and move this around. And now that's what they're working on. And then the job description part of it, it's like, man, if you have someone there that has all this information in their head, and then for whatever reason, they're not with your company anymore, like ideally every box in that job description has a link to an SOP, right? Which ours are maybe not even 25% built out like that. But that's the goal. And so if you have to put someone new in that position, like that's just a huge step up. It's like, basically, here's your job, here's all the SOPs, and
that's brilliant, dude. That's brilliant. Like if you build out a job description and then have whoever fulfills that every single day creates the SOP and a link to exactly how to do it. I mean, I worry about it all the time. I was just talking about it today with my metal guy, my main metal guy. Happens if he gets hit by a train, you know? Like there's some SOPs there, but they're not documented in a way that I could walk into the shop and start building caps or start building some of the crazy stuff that he builds. So I love that.
Yeah,
it's not like I build them all out.
Yeah, we had to build out SOPs for the metal, the CNC, and I got trained on it. A couple others got trained on it, and then our first 3 months of the guy that we took up to Portland to learn it, and we had to go to Bend, Oregon, as where we got ours from. 3 months later, he quit, and I'm calling up Rory and John. You guys know how to run the machine? And they're like, no. And so I had to run up there, and us three had to get together and go, how do we? And we muffled through it, and then and we got lucky. The next guy we hired he walked right in and ran the machine better than we ever have. So I said to him, I said, listen, I need a thumb drive of all the SOPs on how to build every cap. And 2 weeks later, he gave me a thumb drive, and I've looked at that thumb drive, and I mean, a 5-year-old could make a chimney cap essentially with that thumb drive. It is awesome.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, he did such a good job. I was so proud of him. And so,
that's incredible.
Well, guys, go ahead, Steve.
No, that's incredible. There's a lot to know. There's a lot to learn, and Joe
is it's just always a struggle of like, it feels like you're going really slow making those SOPs. Like, hey, I could knock out these 10 things on my to-do list, or I could spend today making SOPs. And you know what I mean? It's always that kind of battle between, do I slow down and have some, have that assurance, or just keep running and winging it.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it. That's not my strong suit, man. It's not my jam. I'm a mover. I'm a shaker and a mover. I'm not sit down and write processes kind of guy. And I think it was in the E-Myth HVAC contractor. Ken Goodrich talked about that. Like one of your primary jobs as a leader is to make sure that the systems and processes are documented. Like it has to be done. That's like one of the primary roles, period, is that you get it out of your head and get it, onto a computer and onto paper and make sure that it's known by all and followed by all.
Right.
Yeah, there's people that'll write those entire systems, but that's the way that you want to structure, is what Mike was referencing before, is that you have a job description, then you have a detailed SOP of like a daily task. And then if there's something that goes off of that, so you're going to have, if you're talking about a technician, he'll of course have an SOP, but then if the technician is doing a reline or doing masonry, then there's other SOPs for that. So that becomes never ending.
Right.
But the book that you're talking about, the way that SOPs and all the things about is that exact same way. And it's based on what's called incident command. Incident command was developed in the fire department in the late 60s in California with all the large wildlife fires. And basically what you just said, Chad, is about, a 5-year-old could literally come in and build your cap, might have to stand on a milk crate. Well, this is how it works. So when they have those big conflagrations anywhere in the country, and they modeled these wildfires to actual just a home fire, we even use incident command. So basically there's a book, and they'll hand you a book and it might say that you're the water supply officer. Okay. So as long as you can read and write, in there it'll say, as the water supply officer, these are the 5 things you must be able to supply to the chief in charge. And then the next page will say, if you need to know where the drafting sites are, like the creeks, the ponds, the closest fire hydrant, whatever it is, it'll be on a map. Or it'll tell you, go to Google, put in the map coordinates of where you're at, and then boom, it pulls it up. So it tells you how to get that information. So I've had to work in many different things. It might be dealing with food. It might be dealing with calling to get porta potties, because if you're going to be there for days, you got to have somebody to go, and they got to have tents so we can set up for rehab and things like that. So you got to have food and all that different stuff. Well, it's no different in a business. We have all these different functions going on. So you just develop the process as it goes, and then you follow up with, the accountability piece is they give what's called a sit rep, or a situation report, back to whoever they report to. And it's clear, succinct, and very precise. It's not a lot of how you doing, or let me tell you what the color was. It's, no, I called the contractor, the paint's been ordered, he's coming tomorrow, and I will follow back with you the day after tomorrow to ensure it's been painted. That's all Mike needs to know. It's that simple. And if you do that with every part of your business, you lessen the words, you don't hurt any feelings, but you do that by setting the expectation with the training and having the documentation in the beginning when you onboard them.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, that's James Michael saying great information, guys. And then we have Jeremy. The AI Levi manuals are quite a lot to go over. 10K is a lot to invest. It's very nice to have some consistency, not really chimney focused, but the general good SOP manuals.
That's good to know. I meant to call Jeremy about that. He got, when we were at the Home Service Freedom event for Tommy Mello, he actually won Al Levy's, all of his manuals. And like, I've thought about buying them, and he said they're good. I think he mentioned in a text that they were a little outdated, but.
Well, Al Levy, did a talk there, and he was like, yeah, people just buy my manuals and then they skip the whole part where we tailor it to your company. Like,
Right.
Spending that time, there's no way you're going to buy a manual set and it's just going to be good to go. It's not going to make, especially an HVAC one. But yeah, I think that's part of it, is he'll really tailor it to your company.
Yeah.
And And there's a lot of compliance stuff too that's going to be different state to state, or
Sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a turnkey because everybody's business functions a little bit different, and then you have state and local things, and then you have your own personal culture of how you do things. So they definitely have to be customated.
Yeah.
But I would argue that $20,000 is not a lot to invest. If you work 200 days in a year, and you have 5 crews going out, that's only costing you about $20 a day
All right.
to wipe away almost all of your headaches, as long as somebody's following up and inspecting that everything's being followed.
Agreed.
Okay, this is Matt Gilnet. Hello, gentlemen, and Chim Chimnery from AffordableChimneySweeps.biz. And then Jeremy.
What's up, Matt?
It's 6:30 minutes Zoom session with AI on that as well.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh, 6:30 minutes.
30-minute Zoom sessions. Got it.
That's awesome, man. Make sure you take advantage of that. I think that was one of his complaints, is that people weren't using his time that he's offering, and it sounded like one of the exciting things about hearing him speak was it just sounds like he's a really, really giving person, and like he will go above and beyond to make sure that it works for you. So
Yeah, and the cool thing now is you can really smooth that over with or update it with ChatGPT.
right.
It may not be 100% perfect, but you could say, hey, I want this to have all the whatever state compliance stuff. I want it to, have this tone, et cetera. So you can even feed it, hey, here's a whole chapter, but we get like this.
Right.
Oh, good talk, guys. We're over 6 minutes, and so I've got no time limit, and so I got kids all at sports tonight. So, it's with accountability and micromanaging, and we've gone kind of down this little bit of a, more of an AI talk, and then last little bit. Who knows what AI is going to be able to hold accountable as we keep going and be able to do and get everything to where it is on its path, right? We want to, everybody as a business owner is trying to steer this ship, right? Let's just go there. And we're all trying to figure out how, and this is where I think a lot of our employees, and I wish more employees could hear what I'm about to say. We're for you as a business owner. We're successful because of you. Now, we may be always going through that process of, sounds like we're always correcting you. Well, we are, but in the same aspect, Steve's his cheerleader. You're the company cheerleader that owns the company. You've gone into that role, and you've got Tom now, doing all the back end stuff. Mike's a cheerleader too. I know you are for your company, and so, and when I'm at my company, I'm definitely the cheerleader. I'm not like the Steve cheerleader because I'm not there as much, but I do like going there and I'm patting everybody in the back, and I don't quite pat him on the butt like Steve said, but I kind of leave that spot alone. And so, but when we're doing these stuff, so I'm getting to the root of this, all this stuff that's going to help you be more accountable isn't just because we're trying to micromanage you. We're doing it to make you better. That, and all as a business owner, what are we always doing? We're trying to make you better. And I think as a lot of times that message is not clearly being told to your company. We're making these changes really for you. It's not just about, me at home. We're really trying to do that. And I think a lot of people, like, I'm pretty sure Steve, Chuck, you did, Mike and I think our people kind of get that, but I think a lot of people that I deal with, that I coach, I talk, I don't think a lot of people that work underneath some of these business owners, they don't get it. They're not getting it. And so, I'm getting a very good relationship with John Meredith right now. And so he's become my mentor. He flat out ended his phone, we were in the middle of our conversation last Friday, and he says to me, "How can I serve you?" And I literally was just sitting there listening to him. And when he asked me that, and we'd already been down, 30 minutes into it, and he's like, well, how can I really serve you more? And I'm just like, what a great mentor. I mean, he's just asking me how to serve him. And accountability wise, I feel like I have to be accountable now to serve other people now. I mean, I want to help as many people and to learn how to become and learn this micromanagement thing towards accountability, towards culture. I mean, it's got to go that progression. There's got to be an end to micromanaging. There's got to be a system for it to work. It has to be follow up and oversight, and then it becomes culture. And then you don't have to oversight it so much. Probably circle back to it a little bit, and then you're doing something else. That's our goal as business owners. What we'll always be doing. So, I mean,
I've noticed that about Rilla is that techs kind of intuitively know, hey, this isn't some micromanaging thing because my manager doesn't have anything better to do. They're like, this is going to make me better. If they're on performance pay or commissions or whatever, they're like, oh, this is to help me. And so there's very little. I mean, we already do the recording, so no one's going to care. But I haven't heard one company where they're like, yeah, that there was pushback from the technicians or they weren't, welcoming to it.
For sure. I mean, and if they're not welcoming to it, then they're probably not the right people for your team.
Correct.
Right.
Or it wasn't approached the right way. But I'm big on servant leadership. I think that, my goal is to build and manifest a dream that's so big that all of my guys can fit in it, all of them, and I got that kind of that concept and feel from Tommy Mello, where it's just like, I just want everybody to be as successful as they can. It's not micromanaging. It's guiding and leading and just keeping them on the right trajectory. And it's fun, man.
Yeah. And once you have a couple like real winners, then everyone's like, there's a lot of trust there, oh, they're following the process and they're, making this much money and they're doing this and that. And there's just a lot of trust. Everything's for you.
Right. Yeah. We're here to serve them. I mean, when we talk to our office staff, I always remind them that our job is to make sure that their life is as easy as it can be and that they are set up for success every single day. And that's it. I mean, everything we do and all the changes we make are all to try to optimize and to make their lives better and easier so they can make more money.
Well, it's funny how profits happen when everybody's trying to help everybody.
Right.
I mean, it really gets down to that because I can tell you, I don't have any companies I'm dealing with right now, but I've dealt with some companies back a couple of years ago that when I would like the business owner, and as I would get to know him more and how he treats the company, I was like, I'd have to have these hard conversations. Like, we really need to learn how. I would have to diss them, show them that they're, and I'll just put it bluntly, they're an asshole. And how do we talk to everybody? This is how you would talk to this person, this, and then I've seen some change in some people, and some people just couldn't handle it. And so, there's a level of getting to a certain point that when you have realized the servitude leadership, that it will serve you so much of the profits unintendedly. It's amazing. And so, definitely starting to see a little bit in my own world of that. And so my eyes are so open to it that it's just like, I'm just wanting to help everybody and anybody. And so, anyway.
that can be so challenging. I'm that kind of personality where, somebody does something that's, not the way they're supposed to do it in the business. And I'm just like, damn it, that person, and I kind of put them in a negative light in my head. And then it probably comes out the next way I talk to them or whatever. And I had a technician the other week who was looking at his manager that way. He was pretty upset with his manager for whatever reason. And so I started talking to him, and all these talks, it's like I'm telling myself just as much as I'm telling them, So I'm like, okay, what should we do here? I'm like, all right, this manager, like, he's done 99 things that are amazing for you, and he didn't answer the phone one time, and this 99 positive things and one negative thing. You're not compartmentalizing at all. You're just putting him all, like, as a person, you're putting him in this kind of negative light. And he's like, oh yeah. And then I was like, oh, explaining that, I'm like, oh yeah, I should do that more, And then the next meeting, with the whole company meeting, and I brought up that conversation. I'm like, as I'm talking about it, I'm remembering, like, I used to do this way better, to compartmentalize people's actions. And hey, we'll coach on the thing that was wrong, but that doesn't mean the whole person's in this negative light for a whole day, or whatever it is. And those soft skills are hard to train on,
Especially when you're a hard dude like I was. And so, well, guys, thank you for coming on. All three of you, Chuck, Steve, Mike. I am gonna end it here. Wednesdays are my big day, so I have a lot of clients today. So it is time to blow the horn and call it a day. So, guys, come on every week, next week, any week, and I appreciate you guys. So I'm gonna take you guys off camera, just have a little talk with everybody, and end it here. And so, okay, everybody, that was Chat with Chat tonight. This is Micromanaging. We went off a little bit, didn't we? We went to the AI a little bit. We went to a little bit of stuff. It's interesting. I love, hearing from those three guys, especially. But if you, if you take anything from today, it's be a better person, serve everyone you can. You'll find more joy in your life if you do. And so, one of the things, it's the season now, right? So the one thing I want everyone to know is happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever else. And we'll see you next week. Take care.